Hello and welcome to our first vodcast of 2022, Hear the Lion Roar. I'm Matt Brown, Head of Mortgage and Protection Proposition. And as usual, I'm joined by my colleague, Nikki Hemmings, our wonderful GI Proposition Manager. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone. And as Matt said, welcome to our first Hear the Lion Roar of 2022.
Thanks, Nikki. We were just chatting before we hit record on this, and we were just talking about the really good feedback we've been having from the vodcast. So just wanted to thank everyone for interacting around the vodcast, picking up the phone, talking to us. And this year we've actually been inundated with bookings. So we've got lots of lenders, providers in lots of different spaces who are really keen to get some airtime on the vodcast. So thanks for your interest. We've got an exciting 2022 ahead of us on the vodcast. But it's not about what's to come for the rest of the year. We need to talk about what we're doing today. So today we've got a cracking guest. One of our newer additions to the panel. We added these guys last year. I'm delighted to welcome Emma Hollingworth, who's the Distribution Director for MPowered Mortgages. Hi, Emma.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. You good?
Hi, Emma.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
good
thank
stuff.
you.
Over to you, Nikki, for the first question.
Let's get learning about MPowered, which I will be, because you probably know and heard Matt say that my role is predominantly GI within PRIMIS. So what I'm going to be learning from you today, I will be learning completely new. So we'll start off with me just obviously learning some. So you are quite new to the market. Can you explain what it is that you bring that's different to the mortgage market?
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot to go at. So I'll try and keep it as precise as I can. So Qube, which is our master brand, basically has been around for about 4 years. And within that time, we have built an end-to-end origination platform for mortgage lending, in particular in the intermediary space. And that platform is called MPowered. And that platform can house or facilitate any lender or any funder and their products on that platform. And the first lender that we have launched onto that platform is MPowered Mortgages. And MPowered Mortgages currently is in the complex buy-to-let space. And we are funded, we'll never hold a balance sheet. We're funded by a top 15 global bank for that particular product line. And I think what we bring different to the market is absolutely for sure the platform that we've built. And the platform that we've built is our own proprietary technology, and it has artificial intelligence, or a derivative of artificial intelligence, which is machine learning and deep learning. We've also got very sophisticated, it's really OCR technology, but coupled with that and the artificial intelligence, it brings automation, document extraction, document verification. And effectively, what happens is at the first keystroke of an advisor putting an application into our system for MPowered Mortgages at present, the underwriting process starts, okay? And everything on the system happens in real time, all right? And the way that happens is that by a broker putting in the information, we start pulling data in the background about that customer. So we only tend to ask the questions that we can't get the answers to from data. But what we also do is if documents are uploaded, we read the information out of those documents within a second. We verify all of that information, etc., within the system. But what we also do is we take the lender's scorecard, affordability, lending rules, criteria rules, all of that, and we effectively make them into rules. Yeah. So as the information's coming in, the data's being made good at the very start of the application in real time, we're effectively smashing the rules against it. Yeah. And how they then appear in the underwriter's environment is that all of the green rules, all of the rules that have ran and meet criteria and all of that kind of thing run green, so the underwriter doesn't really have to look at them. They only have to look at the red ones, and the red ones really are things that haven't met criteria. Not that it's a definite no, but things within the parameters that we'll look at, but they need to identify them, or it might be a bit of data that we haven't got. So all of that together with the technology and the automation and the human intervention, yeah, because it's not a computer says no system, means that we get to a point of certainty very quickly for the customer. And that point of certainty is, you know, an initial offer. If it's a valuation, a physical valuation that's needed, we then issue another offer after the valuations come in, or you know, it's if it's an AVMable property, it will be effectively a full offer, if that makes sense, in better time, if that makes sense.
Oh, what a use of technology there. At the beginning of your answer, you did mention Qube. Can you explain the difference between the MPowered and Qube? Just obviously get a bit better understanding of that.
Yeah, for sure. So at the heart of everything that Qube does, we are a data business, and we are a data business who has happened to make our first venture into the intermediary mortgage market. And as I said, the entry into that intermediary mortgage market is via our platform, which is MPowered. And that platform can house not just MPowered Mortgages, which is our mortgage lender, it can house any other lender or any other funder as well. So that's the main differences between them. But all of them, your great brokers will see us trading really as MPowered Mortgages. Yeah.
Thanks, Emma. Makes sense. You touched on artificial intelligence. You touched on lots of exciting stuff there that probably people are going, what on earth's that? So just give us a bit of a flavour, you know, what you're doing in the fintech space, what is artificial intelligence, and how can that support brokers?
Yeah, so it's a question we get asked a lot, because you're right, people talk about technology, and quite honestly, I've learned an awful lot since working here as well. But simply put, artificial intelligence is the process of training a computer effectively. And you train that computer with a wealth of knowledge to understand and process really complex tasks, right? And a lot of people might think, well, that's what computers do already. And you know, we've had computers solving problems for decades now, and how is AI any different? But whilst that's true of computers, it's really only been in a limited sort of manner. So traditionally, computer-based solutions depend on a human, like rigid human rule to react with a very specific condition. So, for example, that condition could be sort of John Smith's withdraws £10 from an ATM, yeah? And that results in a rule at the bank that would be to reduce sort of John's balance by £10, okay? And basically these human-made rules work fine for very straightforward, clearly defined, you know, situations. But basically, when you try and put that into a convoluted task, it's not good enough, it's not strong enough. Okay, so if you take so that's when sort of the AI comes into it, when it's a convoluted task. So to take a common sort of time-consuming job such as underwriting, which every lender has to do, and in such a process validating an applicant's salary, yeah, to achieve this, the underwriter, they've got to read the text on the documents, they've got to find out all of the pay slips from all of the uploads, they've got to identify the relevant pay slip and that matches the person that sent it and the dates are correct and all of the values look correct, etc., etc. They've got to identify the salary on the document, then they've got to repeat all of this for bank statements, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. So whilst these tasks might seem sort of trivial to a human, considering the complexity in crafting a rigid rule set to make that happen, and for the we've got to explain, or the computer has to explain, to distinguish the difference between the payslip, the bank statements and other types of documents. We've then got to extract the sort of text from those digital documents and documented images. So given that the computer only sees the images as grids and numbers and corresponding pixels and things like that, they don't actually see it as a document. They're not putting that empathy on top. And they've got to handle, all of the different sort of bits of data. So my bank statement might say Emma Louise Hollingworth, my payslip might say EL Hollingworth, my passport, might say something else. So they've got to distinguish the nicknames or the abbreviations, and then they've got to identify all of the different transactions out of that. So the complexity of rules to achieve this would be enormous, right? And very, unsustainable for every new payslip and everything like that. You would need to add manually hundreds and hundreds of new rules to handle it if it was just a normal computer, right? So that's where AI comes in, that's where it thrives. So instead of a human sort of deciding which rules to use to solve the tasks, the responsibility deciding which rules to give to the AI, so that's effectively what it is. So given enough examples of data, the AI learns the rules that are best suited to that situation. So that's hence the machine learning comes in. And these rules are often very complex and will outperform a human given enough learning. So effectively that's sort of a simple an example as I could give really for what an AI will do. So we basically do, or AI does the heavy lifting, which takes away the amount of bureaucracy that you have to go through when you, but it doesn't take away that element of the human decision about the case, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, perfect sense. Thanks for that. I think I know definitely more about artificial intelligence in that last couple of minutes if you're just talking about than I ever did. So thank you. And thanks for giving us your middle name on the vodcast. I'm not giving mine away. I don't think me and Nikki are signing up to that one on the podcast, but thank you muchly. So yeah, I think just following on from that sort of techie question, really, in PRIMIS, we are massive about technology. We love Toolbox. Anything we can do with Toolbox to make our broker's journey better, we're absolutely on board with. But how do you see all that you just talked about there? How do you see that fitting in the current marketplace? And have you got plans to expand that offering?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of product offering, we've recently acquired our residential lending permissions. So that's good. So watch this space. And so I think that how we probably see our platform, is we would intend to make every product offering on our platform. Now, whether that be under MPowered Mortgages or whether that be an existing lender coming onto the platform with those products, but certainly, prime residential, complex residential, niche residential, prime buy-to-let, all the way down to complex. So we see that we can facilitate all of that on our platform, given the right funding structure. So for us, and this might sound a little bit grandiose, but a little bit Amazon-esque, we see this being a little bit Amazon. So we're going to have the product, it's going to be at a good price, and you're going to get it tomorrow, effectively. So it's offering a lot more certainty to the process, because you're not in this scenario whereby the broker is doing an awful lot of work and submitting it to the lender, and then the lender is going backwards and forwards, asking the questions in the data, because it happens in real time. Even within our journey, we will ask questions. The machine will ask the questions before it's even hit an underwriter, because we've identified those scenarios and it's learnt those scenarios. So we think that what we will offer to the market is certainty quicker, but we can also offer that to several other lenders and providers as well. The other thing that we can also do is we can look at embedding some of that technology into a broker process. Yeah,
Right.
because if you think of a broker and you think of an underwriter and the job that they have to do to know that customer and assess the risk or the appetite of that customer, it's kind of the same thing. So there is appetite for us to use that sort of technology in partnership with our distribution partners to make advisors' lives a lot more simple as well. But whilst meaning that advice rules and advice is king, because 70% of the market is an advised market, and there's no stats anywhere that we can find that suggests that's going to change downwards. It will only go upwards because people want advice. Okay, so that's reassuring for us.
Thanks, Emma. And I guess sort of moving on from that side, I'm really interested to know. So, you've been part of a startup business, and I've never been part of a startup business, and neither has Nikki. And I guess, how have you found the journey being part of a startup business? And I've got another sort of two factors to that question, really. So I can tell you're in a real office. There's staff moving behind you, so that's good. Not like me and Nikki, where our arms disappear into the lion like that. But, you're in a real office, so you've clearly got business premises. But, how many staff have you got now? What other networks are you working with? And then back to that first part of the question, what on earth is a startup like? How have you found it?
Yeah, so I'll cover that one off first. So part of being part of a startup, I've absolutely loved. Right, it is fast paced, it's chaotic, it is passionate, it is all of the things that you would expect it to be, because effectively what you're doing is you're buying into their vision. Okay, and that I've worked with these guys for quite a period of time, actually, when I was in my role at MAB previously, and it was just refreshing, and it was just exciting. And what we're trying to do is make change in an industry which is, really, really quite difficult. And if you look at any industry that has been innovated over the last 10 years, it's not particularly through product, it's through user experience. Yeah, so if you look at Spotify, it's still music, it's just in a different way. Netflix, it's still movies, they're just in a different way, right? And we're in a culture now which is a buy now, consume now culture. Yeah, and why can't we do that in the mortgage industry, right? And still have that really great advice that's situated on top. So all of that was really exciting. There has definitely been some learning curves, right? Huge learning curves, both good and bad, by the way. But we I think, are probably the only lender that can claim that we launched in a pandemic remotely. Yeah, which once again added the complexities on top of that.
Well done. Massive.
But for sure, that did hinder us, because those water cooler moments that you have in an office where you're just chatting, we would have perhaps been a little bit further on if we've had them. But we're happy with where we are. Startup for sure excites me, but we're just in that phase now of going through what I would call a startup to a grown-up business. So we are back to your question about how many staff. I think there was 20 of us when I first started 18 months ago, maybe not even that many. But we have now just over 56, I think, something staff, just taken premises up in Leeds, as well as our head office in Guildford, another floor in Guildford, because everybody wants to get back to the office. So yeah, and we will carry on doing that throughout. We will recruit throughout the rest of the year as well, as our lending grows and as our next steps in the business come to fruition. So yeah, it's hugely exciting.
Wow, sounds like you've had a very, very busy time there. And really, part of that as well, I did see that you launched with ULS Technology. Part of my role here is I manage the relationship with ULS Technology internally. Any PRIMIS brokers watching this will know them as PRIMIS Conveyancing. Can you tell me kind of how that is working and what it is that you're doing with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's going really well. So when we first started out, we very naively started out with a very limited panel of 3 actually, which is a very limited panel, and quickly the advisor community told us to I think get a grip on that, so we went out and to find a partner really where we could expand our offering, but outsource the risk, I guess, in terms of the onboarding of conveyancers. So we have a very strong relationship with ULS. They are our partner of choice, and we have a very healthy conveyancing panel now. Obviously not the whole of ULS's panel, but we've restricted it somewhat. But we find working with them really good, great relationship. And at the end of the day, it's all about working together to make sure we get the best and quickest outcome for that customer that's at the very heart of the sale or the purchase or the remortgage or whatever it is. So yeah, really good.
Thanks, Emma. And, we love ULS Technology. They're my past employer prior to joining PRIMIS. So I did feel like I'd stepped back in time talking about conveyancing there. But, absolutely, really, really positive. So look, I think we've covered so much off today. What I'd say to anybody watching back the vodcast, if you don't know enough about MPowered, Qube, Emma, I'm sure you've got people who can support our broker community. How do they get in contact with you guys if they want to pass a referral?
Yeah, so sure. So we've just done quite a lot of recruitment in the field, actually. So we've got 6 key account managers out in the field in different regions. And we have 7 telephone-based account managers in the field as well. Sorry, not in the field, sitting in the office. And we also have a broker support department as well, which is for all the queries and all of that kind of thing. So you can get in touch with us by visiting our website, which is mpowered.co.uk. And so come on and have a look there. It's got all about the team on there. Or give us all a call, and all of the details are on the website. And we can, if we can do via you guys, circulate some details so that you can put them out to your members as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Emma. Well, that's been great today. Thank you so much for being our first guest of 2022 on Hear the Lion Roar.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Cheers, Emma. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Emma. Take care. Bye.
Bye.